So quickly on my background, I don't want to talk too much about myself, I want to get to you, but I'm Breanna Fulper. I live on and was born and raised on my family's 5th generation dairy farm. My dad is there in the back. He came along with me today. We're both on the panel. My dad and uncle both manage and run and operate our dairy and crop farm today. And I would say I was like most farm kids growing up. I stacked hay in the heat of the summer. I milked cows at 4:30 in the morning, and I was driving equipment far before my friends were even driving cars. But I would say my father took it one step further. At 9 years old, his kids, my siblings and I, all started saving and investing our money at 9 years old in our Roth IRA plans. So that was unlike a lot of my friends and even most farm kids at the time. And I really have to say that that has a lot to do with why I'm standing up here today. So I wanted to just briefly mention that and kind of talk about where I came from. Financial management was instilled in us at a very young age, and recognizing the need to educate my community about agriculture as well as my own hunger to follow in my dad's footsteps and run my own business, I did start an agritourism program on our family dairy farm. So kind of bringing people from the community to the farm like a CSA. And this now has formed into an LLC between my father and I, but it also helped pay for my education at Cornell. So I went to Cornell University and I double majored in business and financial management as well as dairy management. I traveled around the country helping growing businesses look at investment alternatives on their farms. So whether it was helping them create efficiencies in their farm business or add another stream of income, I really helped the farm business look at their financial picture and take the next financial leap. So I can kind of relate to a lot of these different topics, even in the business planning section I have experience doing. But I would say about 3 years ago, I knew I wanted to, 2.5 years ago, I was introduced to a firm called Edward Jones, and I knew I wanted to build a business back towards home in the Northeast. And I did a lot of homework and research before I decided to join a firm, but for me, there were really 3 big reasons why I chose to go with Edward Jones. And again, I have just 3 big reasons, and then we'll jump right into the program. But the first one would be Edward Jones has the reputation of a very ethical reputation, has morals and values, unlike, in my opinion, any other firm in the industry. So that was important to me, building a business in my local communities. The second big reason is we don't have any proprietary products. So I don't have to sell a particular product. I can really be that comprehensive, a full financial planner for my clients. That was important to me as well. And the last would be we are still, Edward Jones is a private partnership. So each of us that work for the firm are a partner within the firm, and it is similar to probably the ways that some of you have your farm set up. You know, the only person you have to work for is yourself and your families, right? The only person I have to work for are my clients and myself, of course. But I don't have a CEO or shareholders to please, which it makes a huge difference to the client. So moving on, I guess you can probably tell I love what I do, and I do have, very proud of my firm's ethical reputation, and I also have a passion for educating individuals like you about how to reach and understand their financial goals. I especially have a place in my heart for educating women and farm women, being one. It's easier to probably relate to you, and I can speak to you differently than a male could. Moving on, I just wanted to touch on this briefly as well before we jump into the heart of the presentation, but as farmers, we all tend to get tied up and tied down with all the daily chores and activities on the farm, right? I mean, whether it's worrying about, are the fields ready for planting season? Are we going to get enough rain this year? Are we going to get too much? Or should we update that piece of equipment we've been meaning to the last couple years? And I'm going to challenge you today to forget about the farm. Wipe it from your brain. Forget about the stack of paperwork that needs to be done on your desk. Turn off your phones and think far into the future with me for a minute, okay? I'm not neglecting that those daily activities and chores are not important. They are. But sometimes we as farmers neglect the fact and the importance of your longer-term financial goals, which, to be honest, take the most time planning for and can create the most disasters later on if you don't. So let's just, if you can pull out the first sheet that just says 5 steps on the top of it, flip it over and just write 1, 2, 3, 4 down the side. I'm just going to do a little fact or fiction 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to give you a statement, and you're going to tell me if you think it's fact or fiction. All right. Number 1, women are gaining more of a presence in the workforce and are earning more than ever. Fact or fiction? Write it next to number 1. Number 2, women report knowing less about money than men. Fact or fiction? Okay. Number 3, women make more financial mistakes than men. Fact or fiction? And finally, number 4, almost half of women will become financially responsible or solely responsible for their finances at some point in their life. Fact or fiction? All right, let's see how we did. So for number 1, women are gaining more of a presence in the workforce and are earning more than ever. We heard it?
All right.
Fact. You said fact, right?
I said fact.
Yep, fact. Women make up nearly half of the total workforce in the U.S. Women also own nearly half of the U.S. small businesses, including agricultural businesses. And the number of men receiving bachelor's degrees in the last 30 years has increased by 20%, while the number women are receiving has increased by 117%. Okay? Over the past 30 years, women's income has increased by 60%, which translates to tremendous spending power of $7 trillion in consumer spending and business and agricultural spending. And that's larger than the economy of Japan, by the way. So I just wanted to give you a couple of these facts here to show you women are important and we are growing and we are demanding more. And so it's important for us to tailor these presentations to women. All right, number 2, women report knowing less about money than men. Fact or fiction? Fact, yep. Actually, despite the advances in workplace and in education, many women lack the knowledge when it comes to their finances. It may not be you women in here, but most women do say that. For example, when surveyed, many women say that they are unfamiliar with financial products and the financial services that are offered. Okay? Number 3, women make more financial mistakes than men. Fact or fiction? Fiction, yeah, fiction. So this is actually fiction. Despite feeling less confident when it comes to money than men, women make fewer mistakes. Why do you think that is? Smarter. Exactly. It's all right. He grew up in a house with all women. So, well, I'll tell you what research shows. Research shows that men don't stop to ask for directions. Imagine that. They are more likely to allocate too much of their money towards one project or one investment without thinking through the whole process. So women, however, are more likely to seek guidance and to understand it fully before making a decision. And once they do, they stick to it. So that's the reason why. Go women. Woo! All right, 4th one. Almost nearly half of women will be solely responsible for their finances at some point in their life. Fact or fiction? Actually, it's a trick question. It's fiction because nearly 90% of women will be solely responsible for their finances. I said nearly 50, but it's actually fiction. It's more, yep. So 90% of women will be solely responsible. 2 major reasons. One is longevity. Yeah, women live 7 years longer than men on average. And divorce, unfortunately, the divorce rate is hovering around 41% today. So I guess I would say when women, when faced with divorce or the death of a spouse, they are a lot of times scrambling or finding themselves, unprepared to handle the financial situation. So it's really important for me to educate women so that they understand this. And it's okay to depend on your spouse and to work with them, but you really have to know that someday you will probably take over. So you need to know the ins and the outs of the situation. So just a quick, don't wait until then to take on this responsibility. And that's, coming to this seminar is one of your first steps. So congratulations there. All right, so let's look at the first slide. Let's jump into it. So this is really what I call my 5-step process for helping you understand and reach your financial goals. The first two being, where am I today, and where would I like to be? Those are the first two questions we're going to go over, and I'm going to let you kind of exercise in the crowd with some different sheets I gave you. The last three, can I get there, how do I get there, and how can I stay on track? Has a lot to do with my job. So I probably can't go into specific detail because I don't know any of you yet. I can't give you specific suggestions, but I can get you on the track to that 5-step, if that makes sense. So let's take a look at the first slide. So sorry about that, I'm losing my place here. Oh, I just wanted to mention, although many of your goals will be completely different, and because you're in different businesses, the process really remains the same. So I just wanted to let you know that as well. All right, so pull out the first quiz that you probably wrote the 1, 2, 3, 4 on the back. It's 8 questions. I want you to answer the true or false for all 8 of them. Okay, that's normal. You're all normal. Most people don't answer true for all the questions. So what I would do is I would take this sheet home with you, freshen up on those answers so you kind of have an idea of where you are in your current financial world, and then kind of hang on to that and think about your current financial situation. And I know it's homework, but remember, 90% of you will be solely responsible for your financial situation in the future. All right, moving on. Whoops. Oops. There we go. All right. So emotions, the two words financial and goals can be very much, emotional words, right? So when you think about financial goals, words, like excitement, fear, uncertainty, confidence, they might all come up. A few of them might, or just one. But for example, a common goal for many farmers, I talk to many people every day, and a lot of farmers and agricultural people or people in the industry. And one of the most common goals for farmers is to be able to retire one day and to pass the farm down to the next generation. I don't know if that's any of your goals in here, but I would say this can cause a lot of anxiety, and some different questions do arise from this particular common goal between farmers. One is, am I saving enough to be able to do that? Will I be able to retire someday? Am I going to, will my kids be in a financially good position when they take over, that they can continue the operations of the business without me? So a lot of those questions and anxiety do arise. But let's talk about it for a minute. And that may be a common financial goal for a lot of farmers, but it may not be yours. So why don't you just pull out the financial goals worksheet, and I just want you to breeze through backside and front of these 2 pages of financial goals and just circle the top 3 for yourself. And it doesn't have to relate to your business. We're really talking about your long-term financial goals. It may be personal and family financial goals, and most of the time it is. All right, so now we've been through step 1. What does your current financial situation look like? That was the quiz you took in the beginning, the true or false, that you're going to take home and work on, since all of you didn't answer true for each question. This is the next step, of understanding what your financial goals are, looking deep down into the future. But just to think about short-term versus long-term goals. Short-term goals may be something on your day-to-day activities on the farm, right? It could be paying off debt. It could be creating efficiencies in the business, increasing crop yields. It could be increasing milk produced per cow, depending on what type of farm you have. But longer-term goals tend to be, I'm going to challenge you, and let's focus on your long-term goals. Long-term goals tend to be the things that are out of thought and out of mind. Each day we're thinking about, okay, am I producing enough milk? Am I getting enough yield off the farm? Did I spray enough fertilizer? Whatever it may be, you're thinking about that every day, but sometimes we neglect to think about the most important future. And again, that can be where the most disaster can happen. And you won't know it until you get there. All right, so ask yourself, with each of these financial goals that you may have, how will you afford to reach that financial goal? Each financial goal costs money, right? It's not like we have a goal, let's say, send my children to college one day, and all of a sudden, poof, the money appears. It's like you say, I want to lose weight, and you never go to the gym. It takes a plan, it takes a process to get there. So I'm going to relate some of this to retirement, because that is the most common goal for most families and farms. And I know some of you are a little bit younger and maybe far off from retirement, but I'm telling you, it's the time to start thinking about it now. You may not want to depend on your business and the next generation's decisions on the farm to pay for your retirement. That's fine. We can start there. So think about it for a minute. Your agricultural, your farm business is volatile. Okay, you all see it in your business every day. There's good years and there's bad. My dad saw milk prices go from an all-time high to an all-time low in 1 year. I'm sure you've all seen fertilizer and crop seed prices, whatever it may be, quadruple in the last couple years. I don't know, more than quadruple, but gone up significantly. So one of the things to think about is commodities are so volatile. Your farm business is probably the most aggressive picture in your overall financial world. Did you know that? It's the commodity market. It is volatile. It is risky. You take a risk every day, and thank you, because you need to feed the world, but you take a big risk every day when you walk into that farm or walk onto that land. You can't control half the things that happen on the farm, like weather. So think about it. Diversifying your financial resources into other avenues and other investments typically it kind of lessens your risks and helps you reach those longer-term financial goals by lessening that. Where are your other resources going to come to help support your future financial goals? We may not want to depend on the farm, and my dad mentioned it actually yesterday. He said, I don't really know if I want to depend on my kids' decisions on the farm to support my retirement. You know, all it takes is one big bad decision, and he doesn't get a salary, right? So flip to the next page if you would. Here we go. Okay, working to your financial goals. So to reach your financial goals, there's three big parts of it. One is the amount of time you spend in the planning phase. Number two is the amount of money you allocate towards each of those goals. And the last one is your rate of return. So the first one, time, which I'll show you in a sec. Wait. Yeah, that's fine. No, that's good. That's fine. First one is time. So I just wanted to give you just a brief example of time and investing your money elsewhere outside the farm and what it can do for you. So this is a kind of a quiz. If you invested $100 per month in John Deere stock, okay, I wanted to make it appropriate here, $100 per month in John Deere stock for 10 years, that's a total of $12,000, right, that you put into John Deere stock. What would it be worth today if the last 10 years you put in $100 per month? How much do you think it would be worth today? You put in $12,000. Just take a wild guess. 15? 50? That's all right.
Less than 50.
More. $81,435. Yep. That's real numbers. So I ran a calculation. If you invested $100 a month in John Deere stock for the last 10 years, $81,000 from $12,000, okay? It's significant. But now let's think about money, or we can go to the next slide here. It's cost of waiting, okay. So if you started investing your money, if you started investing $450 a month from the time you're 30, by the time you retire at 65, you would have $640,000. If you waited 5 years to start investing your money and start saving for your retirement, $450,000. If you waited another 5 years, you would have $310,000. So these are just, little illustrations to show you, but it's significant, 5-year difference. So now we're going to talk about money and then the rate of return. So the amount of money that you put into it. So traditionally, we as farmers are coached and taught to dump most of our profits back into the farm, right? And it may be for tax purposes, it may be whatever it may be for, that's what we're taught, and that's what we're traditionally taught to do. But think about it for a minute. How many of you have calculated your rate of return on your farm investment? You have? Good. Good. That's one thing that you should do, because what if your rate of return on your investment was 2%? What if there was other alternatives that provide 6, 7, 8%? You have to kind of understand and know these different things and how to diversify that business into other investments. You truly have to think of your business as an investment in your family, in your own life. So the next step is what type of investments are right for you, right? That's the next in the 5-step process we're going around. What type of investments are right for you? It's hard for me to tell you that because I don't know anything about you. One thing I can touch on is tax advantage of different types of investments outside of the farm, because everybody pays taxes in here, right? So there's different types of tax advantages and different types of vehicles you can use. There's tax-deferred vehicles, where let's say you put, like the John Deere example, $100 a month in John Deere within this tax-deferred vehicle called an IRA. Yeah, keep going. Called an IRA. The value and the importance of that is any return on that money you know, that 12,000 versus that 81,000, that difference you will never pay taxes on until you retire. So there could be 35 years where you're growing from 12 to 81,000 and you're not paying taxes on it. Okay? Think about it. When you dump your money back into the business, usually it's into equipment to get a tax write-off. Do you appreciate or depreciate equipment? So you're dumping your money back into, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. You need to update your equipment. You need to gain efficiencies, but you're dumping your money back into the business in a depreciating vehicle with the same tax advantage you might get in a retirement plan that appreciates from 12,000 to 81,000 in 10 years. Right? So you got to think about it those ways. There are tax advantages to doing it as well. Did we get there yet? All right. I was going to show you an example of investing your money back into a taxable investment versus a tax deferred and the difference there as well. Okay. The next type of investment vehicle could be a tax-free vehicle called a Roth IRA. That's what I started putting my money into when I was 9, remember? The Roth IRA, let's say you put $5,000 into a Roth and now it's, whatever, $20,000 in retirement. You go to retire. There is $15,000 there that you will never pay taxes on. Okay? That $20,000 that you take out of that vehicle is all tax-free. Okay? And then the last, which I like to touch on, we might get there one day. The last one would be the employer retirement plan. You all are employers here, right? You employ yourself. You're sole proprietors, LLC, however you're set up. But you can set up a retirement plan or an investment vehicle within the business. You can not only create a tax deduction for the business, but also for your personal family and income, and grow your money over time. So there's different ways and different places to allocate your money to diversify from the farm business. And trust me, I mean, I grew up in agriculture. I grew up on a farm. It's a beautiful thing. You should be reinvesting some of your money back into the farm to create efficiencies and to build a better business. But you also have to think about, where else can I diversify myself? Because like I told you, your business is probably your most aggressive piece of your overall financial world. It's agriculture, it's commodities. 2? Okay. All right, you don't have to take it out, but I did put it in there for you. It's just kind of a fun graph here. It's called the market cycle of emotions. You can apply this to your investments outside the farm. You can also apply it to your business as a commodity business. So the black line represents the market going up over time and then going down. And then what I'll show you here is kind of the emotions you feel during those times. So when, let's say you're selling produce or vegetables on the farm and times are great, people are spending double what they used to the couple years before, you're feeling good, right? Prices are going up, you're making money. Let's say you own John Deere stock. Price of John Deere stock's going up, you're making money, you feel great, right? You're living on top of the world. Well, guess what? It starts to come down like it always does. There's market cycles. We hit this line, right? Fear. That's hit this mark, and all of a sudden we start thinking, well, this is different. We haven't seen this before. Milk prices are dropping to an all-time low. We can't sell our vegetables for what we used to. And we get fearful, right? And some people may surrender when they're in an investment outside the farm. But I want to just apply it to your own businesses. Would you sell your farm, or have you sold your farm? I guess you haven't, you're here. Would you sell your farm if you had a lower profit than the year before? No. So would you sell an investment if it was lower than the year before? So it is a cycle of emotions. I'm not saying that it's an easy road, but I am saying that your business is emotional, right? So is other investments in the world. And it just takes a little patience, discipline, and a strategy to really stick through it, which women are good at, remember? Better than men. So the biggest mistake that a female or a woman in agriculture could make is to not get started, okay? So I just put a couple other pieces in here for you, but the biggest mistake would be not getting started. The second biggest mistake would be not reviewing it once you start. So I am going to challenge you to pull out, this says conclusion on it. I want you to take from your financial goals worksheet, one of those goals you circled, and I want you to put it on this worksheet here and start an action plan for yourself. Goal number 1, and I want you to write down, what can I do in the next 48 hours, next week, the next 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months, and a year, and I want you to start putting down that action plan of what you're going to do to reach that financial goal. I know many of you probably have multiple financial goals, but getting started here and putting together that action plan is the best thing you could do from this point on.